Hello everyone, and today I bring you my first former YouTube video. Decided I'm gonna start filming a video where I talk about how I render because a lot of people want to know that, but I'm really bad at explaining and TikTok is the attention span killer, so I'm making a larger video here. Also, by the way, before I start, I just want to say I'm planning to make more videos. I just don't know what to make. I am gonna make more videos, so yeah, maybe tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it. Anyway, so before anything else, let's just start, shall we? So right now I have like sketch. I'm gonna be working on this drawing over here. What I do first is I start adding the base color. Now, don't worry about like making a color palette right now. I usually don't sweat it that much right now. I just kind of like color according to the correct colors. Mostly if I'm doing like a character, I just do like the accurate colors. Also, another very important step. Do not paint with your canvas on white because the colors might look a little bit altered. Anyway, we have the base colors, we have the line art. Now what we're gonna do, fuse those two together. Now this is the part where I get funky, because that's when I add a layer on top. I start fucking around with colors. I don't know how else to say it. That's basically what I do. Like, I put a color and I play with the overlays and I'm like, oh, this looks good. What I am gonna say about my color schemes, however, I hope you don't hear that. What I do is I try to use a lot of complementary colors. You know, like color theory works that the opposite colors in the wheel are complementary. Sometimes when I'm gonna draw, I have like one color in mind. And like, oh, I'm going to use a lot of purple, I'm gonna use a lot of pink. I have that color in mind, so I try to balance it out the colors with like it's complementary, and also using a lot of that color that I already mentioned. I have all of that and I start with the shading. Now in this part is not when I go nuts, I just pretty much add like basic shading. It's gonna be very simple and plain looking. One thing I want to say about my brush that I use is that I tone down the opacity of my brush because I feel like that makes you have more liberty with mixing colors, because I'm a person that really likes to mix colors. For the shading, I usually like to use purples. The technique I usually like to use is hue shifting, which is basically you have your whole hue here in the wheel of colors. And I do this procedure a lot, mostly because I do the shading in one layer. If you want to know more about that, I learned that from Colleen and from other like YouTube tutorials I've watched. Here's the video on screen if you want to learn more about that, because it really helped me out personally. So I shade all of it, it's all shaded. That's when I start adding more spiciness, and this is when I start adding line art. Well, this is when I start adding lightning. Yeah, but I usually use a very pastel yellow because I want my lightning to look almost white. because this type of lighting makes the whole drawing like pop out more. It looks more attractive and more interesting, right? So this is the type of lighting that I like to use. The colors I usually use, like teal, blue, green, I like to use those because it looks really good. But if I have colors, again, like the ones I mentioned on the base colors, then I use orange or pink slash purple for backlighting. So I have all of that done. Now I duplicate by canvas, not I don't just duplicate the layer I'm selecting, I duplicate everything. And then I start going nuts here. I start adding a lot of other details that I want to have in my drawing. Although what I do is I duplicate this, I go to pixelate, then I add like one of those effects, and then in that same layer I add the effect dots hexagonal, and then I go to the overlays and I select luminosity. When I start adding more texture, what happens is that I feel the drawing starts losing contrast a bit. So I start adding more contrast and more textures I add. And one of the things I do is I make some shading in some parts more intense by either adding some dark lines in some parts, so it can like pop out more, and you can have an edge. And now one of the things that I've been asked the most: how did you do the texture? Now this is the best part of the whole drawing. I'll give you that. What I do is I duplicate all of it, and then I go to artistic, and then I go to noise. I add it, I lower the opacity of it. Sometimes I lower it to the range of 30 to 40. I don't go above because it gets really noisy. Well, obviously. I duplicate again, and now in this same part of artistic I go to the very end, which is dots hexagonal, and here I go to overlays and I select color and I lower the opacity. Sometimes depending on how it looks, I usually select 30 or 40 of opacity. So you might think, oh, you're finished, right? No. This is the part where as how I said, I try to add more contrast to everything. A tool I use as my airbrush, because I don't really like to use the normal airbrush. I use a tool in Navy's Paint called Gauze. This one has a really nice textured feel to it, so I use it like an airbrush. Like for example, in the lightning, I try to make it pop out a little bit more. I color drop the color of the lightning, and I start adding like around the edges the lighting. One thing I really like to do with the eyes, I add a new layer. I color it in a bit of a more neon color of that same tone, and then I go to color dodge. I think I did it once and I liked it so much I started doing it every time I make a new drawing. So I really like everything I have here. I don't think I need more modifications. So now I duplicate everything, and then I go to screen tones. I usually use L6, and with the opacity here you modify the size of your dots. Then you go to the 3 points and then you tap rasterize. that allows you to lower the opacity of this layer or modify it and make it an overlay layer. I usually lower the opacity to a point where you can see the dots, but it's not overcrowding the drawing in itself. And yeah, here you go. Also, another thing I really recommend, not only to Eevee's Paint users, I recommend to everyone, get to know your program, get to know what tools it has, get to know like if it has like a filters option, get to know all the filters, and it's not cheating to use them. Use them. I feel like this is a very sidetrack-ish thing to say, but I think it's very important because I'm someone who screws around so much with filters. Yeah, this is basically how I render, how I do everything. And if you want to do this, you can definitely go ahead. And if you want to modify anything, you can also go ahead. And yeah, that was pretty much it for today's video. And also, yeah, face reveal. No, voice reveal. Yeah.